taking a look at GameStop, it's stuck under a downward trend resistance line, but it's meeting an upward trend support line as well. So by the time these two meet, you're looking at end of August almost, give or take. It's predominantly, so this downward trend resistance line started back in May 28th, May 27th of 2021, and it did have a false breakout, broke through, bounced off of support as well, but then ended up coming back down under, and more predominantly was kept under ever since June 14th, June 11th of 2021, and been kept under the whole entire time. And the worst part is it's been kept under all three moving averages as well. So unfortunately, it's being kept down for the time being, but I think for most likely, in my opinion, it's going to bounce off this upward trend support line that acted as resistance first in August of 2020, but then bounced off as support in September 2020, and so on and so forth. Yes, there was a false breakout in December of 2020, but it was kept up by the moving averages for the most part. And I think by the time we meet by end of August, we're looking at, let's just say it goes back and forth, up and down, doesn't matter, bouncing off the support level and resistance level, or just going sideways, doesn't even matter, going up and getting knocked down. But ultimately, by the end of August, I think, in my opinion, I think it's going to go to the upside. Now, the thing is, though, I think we have potentially one more leg up, and I'll explain for the following reason. So I'm going to explain what the price points will I'm going to explain the price points up and down in terms of like what price points will be the resistance levels, what price points can you act as support. So and then I'll do further details, but I just want to mention one thing in terms of the overall movement for the price up, for the upside, if that makes sense. So in terms of the price points, first, if you were to spike up right now, hypothetically, you're gonna have issues passing around the $183 price point, $183 price point, and if you were to drop down, you would have support at pretty much the $133 price point. But I'm gonna explain in greater details. It's actually been extremely helpful, but I want to explain why I think it's going to be one more leg up for the most part. And actually, before I get to that, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but if you go to GameStop statistics, in terms of shorted positions, this is a little bit the reason as well. So in terms of floated shares, which doesn't include restricted shares, which in my opinion is a little bit more important, is 18.18% shorted. So the stock is 18% shorted. It's not an extremely shorted territory. To be extremely shorted territory, you have to be shorted above 20%. And shorted shares for outstanding shares, which includes restricted shares, is 10%, 11%, give or take. Now, technically, it could be an extremely shorted territory if the shorted positions that are not accounted for, which is naked shorted shares, technically is illegal in some countries, and it's a gray area in some countries. But in some business channels, they've kind of stated that there are naked shorted shares happening. So if that is the case, and if there's enough of it happening where it bumps it up to above 20%, then the stock could be extremely shorted in extremely shorted territory. The reason why that is beneficial, though, is if the stock were to run up, you have more of a chance that hedge funds will decide to cover their shorted positions. Therefore, when they cover their shorted positions, they're repurchasing the shares back. Therefore, when shares are being bought, they increase, the price increases. So there's that. Now, if we go to the all chart, this is the problem. This is the reason why I'm thinking one more leg up. It's technically curving down so this is the MACD line. This indicates if it's a bearish or bullish movement. So in terms of like the whole entire graph, the movement is still in the positive. It's still bullish, but it's curving down, and when it crosses over, it would be in the bearish territory, so it would be not optimistic. But right now, it's still optimistic. But if we go to the 5-year chart, this is the problem. Right now, it's in the negative. It's bearish. In the bearish movement, it's not optimistic. The one way you could see this, though, is if the leg up is big enough. So this is the problem. If the leg up is massive enough, then this could curve up in the positive, which would mean the continuous movement would be in the plus side. Because what would happen is, if we go back to the all chart, it doesn't necessarily have to come to the negative. So it doesn't have to cross over to negative and then start having a negative momentum. What could happen is it could curve down, and before it crosses over to negative, curve back up, which could happen if the 5-year chart run up, when this starts curving up to the upside, is mass enough to actually cross over to positive. If it's not massive enough to cross over to positive, becomes like a double negative, then the overall movement won't be enough for the whole entire graph, if that makes sense. And then if I go to the 1-year chart right about here, so this is one plus side for the support level that I'm going to mention. Right now, it is in the negative territory, so it is bearish. It's not optimistic, but here's the RSI chart, which is awesome for the way this coincides. So in terms of the 1 year movement, it looks like it's going to cross over to the positive, so it's going to be a bullish movement. It's going to be optimistic. Plus, you got this extreme. So this RSI chart indicates if it's overly sold or overly bought. Right now, it's overly sold. So if you combine that with it's about to cross over to the positive and it's about to hit the support level to bounce up to the upside, go to the 3-month chart right here to show, or 6-month chart to show it's more prevalent, then that means at one point, in my opinion, I think it's going to break this downward trend resistance line. Now, quick disclaimer before I continue with the price points and all that stuff and timing. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a professional. Everything I do share with you is just my opinion. It is not advice. So please do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. Now, if we were to, let's just say going to the upside first. First, we're going to have issues with these all three of these moving averages. So you're looking at $164 and then $164, $165, then $175, $174 resistance in terms of when you go up to them. These moving averages don't have to act as resistance, and when you go down to them, they don't have to act as support, because there's times you can bounce off them as support, but sometimes they do have that effect. So just you have to be aware of that. But the thing is, though, the $160 price point level, so 160 to 170, is going to be quite difficult to pass in general. Plus, combat with that with the moving averages in the $160 to $170 price point ranges is going to be difficult in general. But then this is the crazy part. So this downward trend resistance line is playing in with the horizontal resistance level at these price points. So if you were to pass right now, it's 185, but I could easily see where there's going to be a potentially false breakout, where it's going to look like it's smooth sailing because you pass 185. The only problem is, if you've seen my past videos, there's a lot of resistance, horizontal resistance, between the $189 price point to the $226 price point, which I think coincides with this moving average as well. It's at the $200 price point, which plays into the psychological number of the clean $200 price point. So that price point by itself is going to be massive to pass. So once you pass the 226, essentially, so you got 183, that's going to be quite difficult. Then the 189 to the 226, more specifically that $200 price point as well. But all that might be too difficult to pass the $160 price point in general. Let me see if I could show something specifically. So I'm going to draw an amateur line right here, where it's going to show the horizontal resistance level for the most part. You could see it spiked up to $167 price point, went up to it, got knocked down, went up to it, got knocked down, around 165, 167, almost got knocked down there, but then bounced off of support as well. Right here, you can see bounce off support. So clearly, and right here, bounce off support, and then right here got knocked down as well. So clearly, this line does exist somewhere in the ballpark of 167, 168, $165 price point. Plus, it coincides with these moving averages. So the $160 price point is $162, $170 price point is going to cause quite a bit of issues to pass. And then again, like I stated, it goes up to 185, and then the 189 to 226, $200 price point is all going to cause issues. Now, if you're looking for the absolute lowest entry point in terms of relation of this upward trend support line, you're looking at entering roughly around the $133, $135 price point, which coincides, if you can see horizontally right here, it bounced off twice around the $133, $135 price point. So right here and right here with a small bounce before it ran up to the upside. The only thing is, though, it's only 2 touch points. I'm only including it because it kind of coincides with the upward trend support line. But at the same time, this upward trend support line is not a guarantee that it has to hold up. We have seen a false breakout in the past, like I stated earlier, in December of 2020. But it could hold. I think in terms of relation, like I stated, with the 1 year chart, where it's trying to cross over to the bullish territory, and the RSI line or chart indicating that it's overly sold, I think there's a chance that it could bounce up and run up to the upside and break through the downward trend resistance line that I showed earlier right here. So hopefully that works out, and hopefully it does break through to the upside. I'll cover more in details as the days come by or pass by, and we'll see what happens. But that's basically it for the video. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. If you like this video, consider dropping a like. It does help out the channel, so thank you so much for that. And if you like videos like this, or other financial videos, or other stock videos, consider subscribing so you'll be notified when I do upload those videos. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.